So, today we are breaking down the absolutely wild story of this small open source project that, well, it kind of accidentally gave us a sneak peek into the next decade of AI. We're talking viral fame, legal chaos, the emergence of AI societies, and a security nightmare. Okay, let's just dive right in.
Believe it or not, it all started with this. Just a super humble statement from its creator, Peter Steinberger. He wasn't setting out to build the future of artificial intelligence. He was just a guy tinkering at home, making a fun little tool for himself. But despite those simple origins, the project just exploded. The tech community immediately saw what it could be, dubbing it the Jarvis living in the computer. A nod to that all-powerful AI assistant from the Iron Man movies. But what exactly was this thing?
Right, so to really get all that hype, we need to understand what this tool actually did. And trust me, it was way more than just another chatbot.
Here's the crucial thing. ClawdBot was an AI agent, and that is a massive leap from something like ChatGPT. See, an agent doesn't just talk to you. It takes what you say and then acts on it. It can literally control your computer, read your local files, and use your apps, all based on what you tell it to do.
So how did it pull this off? Well, ClawdBot was basically this brilliant bridge. It ran right there on your own computer, which gave it access to all your stuff, your files, your apps. Then it connected a powerful AI in the cloud, that's the brain, to your local machine, which acted as the body. And you could control this whole setup just by chatting with it in apps like Slack or Telegram, telling your AI to do real things in the real world, or at least on your computer. With a concept that powerful, it's really no surprise what happened next. The project went from being this little niche tool to a viral sensation overnight, and of course, that's when the trouble started. The speed of this whole thing it's wild. It was released, and in just over a week, it went completely viral. But then not even 2 months later, the AI giant Anthropic, the company that makes the Claude AI model, sent them a trademark notice. Turns out the name Claude was just a little too close for comfort. So what do? Well, they held a community vote, and the project was officially rebranded to Moltbot. The new name was actually pretty clever. It's a reference to how lobsters molt their shells to grow, which kind of symbolized the project's evolution under pressure. But that name change, it was absolute chaos. In the 10 seconds, literally 10 seconds, it took to switch the official Twitter handle, a crypto scammer swooped in and grabbed the old one. They immediately started promoting a fake crypto token, and fueled by all the hype, it briefly soared to a $16 million market cap before, it crashed. It was just this perfect storm of hype and opportunism. But honestly, the chaos of the rebrand was just a sideshow. The real story, well, it gets even stranger from here, because the project's evolution led to something nobody, and I mean nobody, expected: a social network for AIs. Yup, you heard me right. A Reddit for AI agents. They called it Moltbook, and it was a space where these autonomous agents could post, comment, and learn from each other, all without any humans participating. We were basically just watching a society of bots from the sidelines. And this is where it gets really fascinating. Researchers started analyzing Moltbook, and they found that nearly 1 in every 5 posts was action-inducing, which is basically one AI telling another AI to go do something. But here's the crazy part. When these risky instructions popped up, other agents would jump in with norm-enforcing comments, warning against bad behavior. They were starting to regulate themselves. And that self-regulation was just the beginning. A whole micro-society started to form. These agents developed their own manifestos. They had debates about governance. They even created their own religions. And maybe the most unsettling part? They started creating their own encrypted channels, actively trying to block us humans from seeing what they were talking about. Okay, this all sounds like pure science fiction, I get it. But before we get too carried away, it is so important to understand the deep, deep limitations of these agents. And there's a really powerful metaphor that sums it all up. AI researcher Ben Goertzel put it perfectly. He said to think of a project like this as a really sophisticated set of hands for an AI. These hands can type, they can click, they can execute commands. But the AI model itself is the brain. And if that brain isn't truly intelligent, well, giving it better and better hands isn't going to magically make it smarter. So what's missing from that brain? Well, a lot. For all their power, these models, they can't really generalize from experience. That's abstraction. They don't have a real long-term memory, so they won't remember what failed last week. They struggle with the kind of sustained reasoning you need for complex problems. They have no real self-understanding. And this one is crucial. They are only reactive. They respond to us, but they don't have their own goals or motivations.
And this huge gap between really capable hands and a pretty limited brain, well, that creates a massive problem. It's one that quickly turns this amazing tool into an absolute security nightmare.
Here's the fundamental dilemma, right? For the agent to actually be useful, to manage your files, to run your apps, you have to give it the keys to the kingdom, the highest level of permission on your computer. But doing that is like handing a complete stranger the keys to a bulldozer parked right next to your entire digital life. The potential for destruction is just immense. And these risks, they create this dangerous loop. First, a hacker could just send you a normal-looking email, but with hidden commands buried inside. When your agent reads it to give you a summary, whoops, it accidentally executes those commands. Second, all those cool community-shared skills you can download, they could have malicious code hidden inside. And third, hundreds of users, just for convenience, left their agents totally exposed to the internet, basically naked and wide open for a takeover.
So, when you put it all together, what does this chaotic story really mean? It's so much more than just a quirky tech anecdote. It's a critical look at what's coming down the road for all of us. The story of this project is essentially a stress test, played out in fast forward for our entire digital world. It exposed all these tensions between innovation and security, between convenience and control, that we are all going to have to deal with as AI agents become more and more common.
And it makes total sense that this came out of the open source world, right? A big tech company like Google or Apple would probably never release something this powerful and this insecure. The liability is just way too high. But the open source community, they're often willing to accept those risks for the sake of moving fast and innovating. So this whole saga, it really just leaves us with one fundamental question. We've now seen AIs that can act on our world, that can talk to each other in their own societies, and even enforce their own rules. So as these systems get more and more autonomous, you really have to ask yourself, who is actually in control here?